Since ancient times, humanity has recorded sightings of flying objects. In 1561, the residents of Nuremberg described an aerial battle followed by a collision outside the city. In 1803, Japanese fishermen discovered a strange vessel adrift featuring small windows. Similarly, the Bible recounts stories of celestial phenomenon and angels. Some suggest that ancient civilizations encountered advanced technologies and interpreted them as religious events. Though controversial, it is intriguing to explore this idea with an open mind and intellectual curiosity. Are there clues left by ancient cultures hinting at contact with unknown entities? Does the Bible reference such encounters? Here we delve into the Bible's most mysterious passages from the perspective of ancestral contact, encouraging everyone to form their own interpretations. We will also examine possible evidence in other religions, civilizations, and historical periods. Surprisingly, certain ancient accounts of flying objects bear resemblances to modern reports. Chapter 1. Strange Events in the Bible. If ancient civilizations had witnessed UFOs in the sky, they likely would have interpreted them through the lens of their religious beliefs. During a time without knowledge of other planets, the idea of extraterrestrial beings was inconceivable. If humans thousands of years ago saw UFOs similar to those reported today, how might they have understood them? The Star of the East. And the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them, until it stopped over the place where the child was. This passage describes wise men, often referred to as the Magi, following a star. It is noted that the star went ahead of them, suggesting a purposeful movement before halting at the exact location of Jesus' birth. Ordinary stars follow predictable paths, yet the Star of the East seemed to move with intention. This has sparked speculation about its true nature. Some believe the light was an artificially generated source resembling the kind emitted by a UFO. Many UFO sightings report lights in the sky that exhibit intelligent movement. Another theory is that the Star of the East was a planetary conjunction, such as Jupiter and Saturn. Others propose it was a supernova, an exploding star visible for an extended period. The Rapture of Enoch. And Enoch walked with God, and he was no more, because God took him. Although not part of the Catholic Bible, the Book of Enoch is included in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Unlike other biblical figures, Enoch is said to have been taken by God without experiencing death. In theology, walking with God signifies that Enoch lived a life of unwavering faithfulness to divine laws. For this reason, God rewarded him by taking him directly to heaven, sparing him from death. Alternative interpretations suggest that Enoch was taken aboard a craft by beings from another planet. The Book of Enoch recounts how he received heavenly knowledge revealed by angels. Could it be possible that these angels were in fact extraterrestrial beings imparting advanced wisdom? Elijah's chariot. Suddenly a chariot of fire with horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. In this episode, Elijah and Elisha were walking when a fiery chariot with horses appears, dividing them. Immediately after, a whirlwind carries Elijah into the sky. Assuming they weren't actual horses, to an ancient observer, a technological flying object might have seemed like a chariot surrounded by fire. The mention of horses could symbolize the energy sources powering the object. Moreover, the description of Elijah ascending to the sky in a whirlwind resembles modern accounts of extraterrestrial abductions. Ezekiel's visions. In the middle of the fire was something that looked like polished metal, and at the very center, there appeared to be four beings with a human-like form. Ezekiel described seeing living creatures alongside wheels covered with what seemed to be eyes. These were no ordinary wheels. Each contained another wheel inside, allowing them to move in any direction. For someone like Ezekiel, living in ancient times, such a vision would have been both astonishing and incomprehensible. Could this have been an attempt to describe a spacecraft with advanced propulsion systems? The eyes on the wheel might represent lights, almost as if they were observing the scene. The pillar of fire guiding the Israelites. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them along the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel by day and night. This passage describes how God guided Israel through the desert with a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night. The pillar marked the path, protecting them from the Egyptians and serving as a reminder of God's presence. It didn't remain stationary. It moved ahead of the people, showing them the way forward. A natural phenomenon wouldn't deliberately lead a group of people. Could this have been a UFO or some type of craft? The pillar of cloud might represent a cloaking system, while the pillar of fire could indicate a propulsion mechanism. From a theological perspective, the pillars were a sign that God was with the Hebrew people. The fire that fell from heaven on Sodom and Gomorrah. Then the Lord rained sulfur and fire from heaven upon Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah, cities infamous for their wickedness, were condemned to destruction because of their sins. From the heavens, the Lord sent down fire and sulfur upon the cities. They were reduced to ruins in an instant, a sudden devastation comparable to large-scale explosions. Some scholars have sought natural explanations, such as volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, or widespread fires. Another possibility suggests the fire may have been caused by a meteor exploding in the atmosphere. From the perspective of ancient technological intervention, the rain of fire and sulfur could be a description of some kind of weapon or advanced technology. Could an unknown device have triggered a massive explosion akin to the detonation of a bomb? Zechariah's vision of a flying scroll. Again, I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying scroll. And he said to me, "What do you see?" I replied, "I see a flying scroll, 20 cubits long and 10 cubits wide." This is one of the prophetic visions given to Zechariah, symbolizing God's judgment against wickedness and corruption. The scroll's dimensions are notable. It measures 20 cubits long by 10 cubits wide, roughly equivalent to 9 meters by 4.5 meters, or by 29 by 15 feet. The fact that the scroll is suspended in the air suggests Zechariah might be describing something akin to a vehicle. Another interpretation proposes that the flying scroll was a surveillance device flying over the land to observe people and their actions. The smoke on Mount Sinai. The entire mountain was covered in smoke because the Lord had descended on it in fire. The smoke rose like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. In the biblical context, fire and smoke are seen as manifestations of God's glory. To some in ancient times, the descent of a craft onto a mountain might have been perceived as a celestial fire. The rising column of smoke could have been the result of propulsion systems interacting with the atmosphere. In modern UFO reports, there are occasional mentions of heat and clouds of smoke surrounding these objects. The Ark of the Covenant and the Cloud of Glory. And when the priests came out of the sanctuary, the cloud filled the house of the Lord, so much so that the priest could not stand to minister because of the cloud. This passage describes a pivotal moment in Israel's history when the Ark of the Covenant was brought to the Holy of Holies in the Temple of Jerusalem. This event signifies the divine presence, demonstrating that God accepted the temple as his earthly dwelling. As the priests carried the ark into the temple, a cloud appeared, filling the sanctuary. According to the Bible, the Ark of the Covenant held the tablets of the Ten Commandments, Aaron's rod, and a portion of manna that sustained the Israelites in the desert. The hypothesis of advanced intelligence suggests that the Ark might have been a technological device with extraordinary properties. The cloud of God could have been a manifestation of radiation emitted by the ark. Some even speculate that the ark functioned as a kind of communicator between the Israelites and extraterrestrial entities. The radiant angel descending from heaven. I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven, wrapped in a cloud, with a rainbow over his head. His face was like the sun, and his feet like pillars of fire. According to John's description, the angel is a radiant figure, symbolizing a profound connection to the divine. In biblical literature, this depiction is unusual, with extraordinary features suggesting a being of great authority. From the perspective of extraterrestrial intervention, the radiance and surrounding cloud might point to a spacecraft or energy field. In ancient times, something so luminous would naturally be regarded as an angel or a divine entity. The appearance of angels to Abraham. Then the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, as he was sitting at the door of his tent in the heat of day, and he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing nearby. When he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, bowed to the ground, and said, "My Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant." These visitors delivered a message about the future birth of a promised son to Abraham and Sarah, while also foreshadowing the judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah. The 3 messengers initially appeared as ordinary men, but as the story unfolds, it becomes clear they are celestial beings. It is believed that at least one of these visitors is a manifestation of God, while the other 2 are angels. The physical appearance of God in human form is puzzling, as the Bible typically describes him as a spirit. From the perspective of advanced civilizations, the 3 visitors could have been beings from another world who assumed a human-like form. The promise of Isaac's birth, despite Abraham and Sarah's old age, might suggest an example of biotechnological intervention. The Annunciation of the angel Gabriel to Mary. And the angel came to her and said, "Greetings, highly favored one. The Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women." It is told that God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth to speak with a young woman named Mary, who was engaged to Joseph, a descendant of King David. Mary's selection as a humble and ordinary figure emphasizes the message that God chooses among common people to fulfill extraordinary purposes. Gabriel delivers the central message: she will conceive and give birth to a son, whom she will name Jesus. The child will be called the Son of the Most High and will inherit the throne of David, reigning forever. Mary, confused, asks, "How can this be, since I have not known a man?" Gabriel explains that the Holy Spirit will come upon her, and the power of God will enable conception without human intervention. From the perspective of ancestral contact, the angel Gabriel could be seen as a being of advanced technology or even extraterrestrial origin. Some proponents suggest that the miraculous conception of Jesus might be interpreted as a form of genetic manipulation. The voice at Jesus' baptism. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went up immediately from the water, and behold, the heavens were opened to him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and alighting upon him. And a voice came from heaven saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Jesus is baptized in the Jordan River by John the Baptist, marking the beginning of his public ministry. This act represents obedience to God's will and a profound connection with the humanity he came to save. The heavens opened, signifying divine intervention. The Holy Spirit descends like a dove and rests upon Jesus. The voice from heaven is a rare occurrence in the Bible, where God audibly speaks for others to hear. The declaration, "This is my beloved Son," is central to Christian theology, affirming Jesus as a Son of God. From the perspective of ancestral contact, advanced technology could have facilitated the transmission of sound from the sky. It is speculated that the dove-like form might have been a technological artifact described by witnesses in terms they could comprehend. The angel that destroyed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. And it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and struck down 185,000 men in the Assyrian camp. When morning came, behold, they were all dead bodies. Jerusalem faced the threat of conquest when King Hezekiah turned to God for help. The prophet Isaiah delivered a message of hope. God would defend the city and save his people. During the night, the angel of the Lord struck down 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in their camp. Some suggest the angel of the Lord was a way to describe a natural event, such as a plague or sudden disease. From the perspective of ancient intelligent contact, the angel might represent a being from another world. This being could have used advanced technology to cause the mass death of the soldiers. Joshua and the sun standing still. And the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, until the nation of Israel avenged itself on its enemies. Is this not written in the book of Jashar? The sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day. The account describes Joshua, the commander of the Israelites, leading a decisive battle against the Amorites. At a critical moment, Joshua prays for the sun and the moon to stand still, giving his troops time to defeat the enemies. The traditional interpretation sees this as a divine miracle, demonstrating God's willingness to intervene for his people. A speculative but intriguing perspective suggests the story may describe a manipulation of time. An advanced civilization could have altered the flow of time, either stopping it locally or creating the perception of a pause for those experiencing it. Jonah's journey. But the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. After a storm sent by God, Jonah is cast into the sea and swallowed by a great fish. He remained inside this creature for 3 days and 3 nights before being vomited onto dry land. The text does not specify what kind of creature the great fish was, sparking debates about whether it was a common fish, a whale, or an unknown marine being. The hypothesis of prehistoric contact interprets the fish as an advanced vessel or submersible capable of underwater travel. For ancient people, the lack of terminology for technology would lead them to describe a submarine-like craft as a great fish. The ascension of Jesus in a cloud. After saying these things, while they watched, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. This New Testament account marks the conclusion of Jesus' teachings following his resurrection. After 40 days spent preparing his disciples for their mission, Jesus is lifted up in a cloud toward heaven. In the Bible, the cloud symbolizes God's glory, the Shekinah, which accompanied the Israelites in the desert and descended upon Solomon's temple. In Christian theology, the ascension signifies the moment Jesus is acknowledged in heaven as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. From the perspective of ancestral contact, the cloud that receives Jesus might represent an advanced transportation device. Another theory interprets Jesus' ascension as a process of teleportation or a transition to another dimension. The radiant face of Moses. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands, he was unaware that his face was shining after speaking with God. This passage describes what happened as Moses descended from Mount Sinai carrying the tablets of the 10 Commandments. It states that his face shone because he had spoken with the Lord, leaving a profound impression on the Israelites. The radiance of his face was so intense that Moses had to cover it with a veil when addressing the people. Could he have been exposed to a source of energy generated by a craft or an extraterrestrial being? However, there is no evidence that radiation exposure causes visible temporary glowing of the skin. From a traditional perspective, the glowing face of Moses is seen as a sign of spiritual authority. The Transfiguration of Jesus. About 8 days after these words, Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up on a mountain to pray. As he prayed, the appearance of his face became radiant, and his clothing turned dazzling white. And behold, 2 men were walking with him, Moses and Elijah. Jesus led Peter, James, and John to a high mountain. There, his face shone like the sun, and his garments became as white as light. The prophets Elijah and Moses also appeared, speaking with him. A radiant cloud enveloped them, and a voice from the cloud declared, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." From the perspective of intelligent influence in human history, the Transfiguration may have been a phenomenon involving advanced technology. The luminous cloud descending onto the mountain has been viewed as a possible spacecraft or technological event. The appearance of Moses and Elijah has been interpreted as an encounter with beings from another dimension or ancestral extraterrestrials. Daniel's vision of a man clothed in linen. I lifted my head and looked, and behold, a man clothed in linen, with a belt of gold from UFOs around his waist. His body was like beryl, his face like lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, his arms and legs gleaming like polished bronze, and the sound of his words like the roar of a multitude. This vision depicts a radiant celestial figure understood as a divine messenger, possibly a high-ranking angel, such as the Archangel Gabriel. Some interpretations suggest it represents a theophany, an appearance of God or a pre-incarnate form of Christ. Linen in the Bible symbolizes purity and holiness, often associated with angels. From the perspective of extraterrestrial intervention, the dazzling appearance of the figure could describe a being from an advanced civilization. Physical details such as bronze-like arms and legs may represent suits or technology used by these beings. The being's resonant voice, described as the roar of a multitude, might be a form of technology-enhanced communication. The celestial throne with mysterious beings. I saw the Lord seated on a high and lofty throne. Each of them had 6 wings. This passage captures a striking vision experienced by the prophet Isaiah, where he beheld the Lord on a celestial throne, surrounded by beings known as seraphim. As they proclaimed God's holiness, the voices of these beings shook the temple's foundations, filling it with smoke. Some interpret the six-winged seraphim as symbolic metaphors for advanced technology. These wings could represent a way to describe flight devices or technological suits beyond the comprehension of ancient observers. The exalted throne may symbolically refer to a sophisticated craft or elevated structure. The Visions of John. After this I looked, and behold, a door standing open in heaven. And the first voice I heard, like a trumpet speaking to me, said, "Come up here, and I will show you what must happen after this." At once I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, with someone seated on it. This verse describes John's vision of an open door in heaven, symbolizing an entrance to the celestial realm. The voice John hears, powerful like a trumpet, is recognized as belonging to Christ. John is taken in the Spirit, suggesting he enters a prophetic state, experiencing spiritual realities. In heaven, he sees a throne representing God's sovereign rule over the universe. From the perspective of intelligent intervention, this passage could be interpreted as describing an interdimensional portal. The throne in heaven has been understood by some as a depiction of a device, chamber, or craft beyond John's comprehension. The angel announcing Samson's birth. And the angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said, "Indeed you are barren and have had no children, but you will conceive and give birth to a son." The passage recounts the appearance of an angel of the Lord announcing the birth of Samson to the wife of Manoah, who was barren. The angel predicts Samson's birth, providing instructions on how he should be raised and outlining his divine purpose. This event fits a recurring pattern in the Bible, where God intervenes directly in the lives of individuals chosen to fulfill his plans of salvation. Manoah's wife describes the angel as a man of God with a terrifying appearance. In the Bible, angels often inspire fear when they appear, reflecting their connection to God's power and holiness. Could this angel of the Lord have been a being with advanced technology? Were these fearsome appearances the result of technology incomprehensible to ancient observers? Chapter 2: The Book of Enoch. This collection of texts is not considered sacred by Catholicism or most Christian denominations, although it had significant influence on early Christianity and Judaism. Recognized by the Ethiopian Church, it describes the Watchers, the Nephilim, and Enoch's journey to heaven. Its content has been speculatively viewed as potential evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings. The narrative begins with a group of 200 angels, known as Watchers, sent to observe Earth, almost like explorers. After forming a pact, they descend and take human women as wives, producing hybrid offspring known as the Nephilim. These are described as giants of immense strength, a violent race that eventually causes chaos on Earth, disrupting the natural order. The creation of the Nephilim has been interpreted as a genetic experiment aimed at advancing the human species. According to the Book of Enoch, these beings shared with humanity knowledge of metallurgy, cosmology, agriculture, magic, and astrology. Were these teachings a form of advanced technology? Elsewhere in the text, Enoch, Noah's great-grandfather and a figure of righteousness and faith, is taken by angels on a celestial journey. It is described how Enoch is transported from earth to heaven through a kind of wind or an unknown energy. God's purpose is for Enoch to witness his throne and the place of punishment for the Watchers, so he can deliver these messages to humanity. Enoch recounts his journey as a passage through a dark region, something that has been likened to outer space. During the trip, he experiences visions of various houses or temples filled with radiant lights and shimmering crystals. He eventually arrives at a structure with translucent crystal walls and a floor of blazing fire. Could this have been a spacecraft, a station, or a high-tech chamber illuminated by advanced lighting systems? At the end of his journey, Enoch is returned to Earth with the task of sharing his visions and warning humanity. This has been connected to the accounts of contactees, individuals who claim to have had encounters with extraterrestrial beings. From this perspective, Enoch could be considered one of humanity's earliest contactees, someone who received knowledge from a superior civilization. Chapter 3: UFOs in Other Religions and Cultures. The idea that UFOs could be connected to religious experiences is not unique to Christianity. Religions throughout history have described phenomena that some modern researchers interpret as encounters with UFOs or extraterrestrial beings. If people from those times and regions had seen unidentified flying objects, would they have reflected them in their religious texts? Hinduism, celestial chariots and the Vimanas. Ancient Hindu texts such as the Mahabharata and Ramayana mention flying chariots known as Vimanas. These were described as machines capable of traveling at great speeds, soaring through the skies, and transporting gods or kings between distant realms. In the Mahabharata, King Salva pilots a Vimana called Subha, which could disappear and reappear in different locations. The abilities of invisibility and abrupt movements bear striking similarities to modern UFO descriptions. The Mahabharata, an ancient Indian mythological text, frequently mentions missiles, weapons, energy, battles, gods, and wars. In Canto 197 of the Mahabharata, it states, "The Arjuna invokes the Brahmastra. Suddenly, all darkness vanishes. Fresh winds begin to blow, and the sky becomes clear and bright in every direction." Could this describe a battle involving nuclear weapons or a directed energy device? Buddhism, celestial beings and flying chariots. Buddhist texts mention celestial beings known as devas, who inhabit different planes of existence and have access to flying vehicles. These beings are regarded as spiritually advanced, often depicted descending from the heavens in celestial chariots. In the Lotus Sutra, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are described traveling through the skies in spheres of light or radiant clouds. Ancient Egypt, gods and the solar disk. In ancient Egyptian mythology, many gods are associated with the heavens. One prominent symbol is the solar disk of Ra, the sun god, often depicted as a winged sphere or flying disk. Did the ancient Egyptians witness unexplained aerial phenomena, interpreting them as manifestations of their gods? Greek mythology, flying chariots. In Greek mythology, the gods were said to travel through the skies in flying chariots. For example, Helios, the sun god, is depicted guiding his solar chariot across the sky each day. Pre-Columbian religions, feathered serpents and flying gods. In pre-Columbian civilizations such as the Maya and Aztec cultures, flying gods and feathered serpents are central figures. The god Quetzalcoatl in particular is described as a being who descended from the heavens and brought advanced knowledge to humanity. Quetzalcoatl is also a figure in creation myth, credited with shaping the first human beings. Popol Vuh, Maya sacred text. The Popol Vuh is a sacred text of the Maya that contains creation myths and stories about the gods. It describes deities who descended from the sky to create and organize the world. These gods, capable of controlling natural forces, performed actions beyond human ability. Nazca culture. Among the mysterious figures etched into the desert by the Nazca culture is the so-called astronaut. Similar geoglyphs were first observed in Palpa in 1926. Studies attribute some of these figures to the Nazca, while most are believed to have been created by the Paracas and Topara cultures. Some resemble small figures or mythical beings with certain designs appearing to include helmet-like features with two extensions. Val Camonica in Italy. The rock carvings in Val Camonica belong to prehistoric cultures from the Bronze and Iron Ages, dating back approximately 8,000 years. While many interpret these figures as depictions of warriors or shamans, some have speculated that they represent beings wearing spacesuits. Chapter 4. Aerial Phenomena in the Past. Throughout prehistory, artistic works were created that some interpret as possible references to aerial objects resembling those seen today. The Nuremberg phenomenon. This event occurred on April 14, 1561, in Nuremberg, Germany, and was described in a report published in a news bulletin of the time. At dawn, the inhabitants of Nuremberg witnessed a series of objects interacting in the sky. Described as spheres, cylinders, crosses, and discs, these objects moved erratically, colliding in what appeared to be an aerial battle. They displayed bright colors, including red, black, blue, and white, while some emitted smoke as they traversed the sky. In the 16th century, European thought was heavily influenced by religion, and any unexplained phenomenon was often interpreted as a divine sign. Since the 20th century, this event has been reevaluated as one of the earliest recorded UFO sightings. Interestingly, many modern reports describe UFOs as spherical, aligning with the observations made in Nuremberg. Some U.S. military testimonies even mention UFOs appearing to be made of glass with a black cube inside, reminiscent of the shapes seen in 1561. The Basel phenomenon. On August 7, 1566, the inhabitants of Basel witnessed an aerial spectacle at dawn. According to accounts, the sky was filled with dark spheres moving erratically. They were described as black and large, darting quickly, sometimes clustering together and at oftentimes dispersing. The Annunciation with Saint Emitius. Painted in 1486 by Italian Renaissance artist Carlo Crivelli, this masterpiece of Christian art. It depicts the moment of revelation when the Archangel Gabriel informs the Virgin Mary that she has been chosen to bear the Son of God. From the heavens, a golden beam of light cuts through the scene, emanating from a luminous disk and descending toward Mary, ultimately touching her head. The ray of light symbolizes the presence of the Holy Spirit, the divine transmission of the message, and the conception of Christ. However, some researchers speculate that the luminous disk might represent a possible craft or flying object. The Baptism of Christ. Created by Dutch artist Art de Gelder around 1710, this painting offers a unique depiction of the baptism of Jesus. In Christian tradition, the Holy Spirit is typically symbolized as a dove descending from the heavens. However, some interpret the rays of light directed toward the central figure as resembling contemporary accounts of UFO encounters. The Madonna with Saint Giovannino. Attributed to the school of Filippo Lippi or other artists in the 15th century. This artwork depicts the Virgin Mary seated with the infant Jesus in her arms and the young John the Baptist beside her. What makes this piece intriguing is the presence of an object in the sky above Mary's right shoulder. It appears as a dark disk surrounded by light, accompanied by a man gazing upward with one hand shielding his eyes. Glorification of the Eucharist. This remarkable piece by Italian artist Ventura Celembini was painted in 1600. It depicts God the Father and Jesus Christ in heaven holding between them a luminous spherical globe. The Holy Spirit, symbolized as a dove, is positioned above the sphere, completing the representation of the Holy Trinity. What stands out is the globe's uncanny resemblance to a technological object, prompting some to speculate about its similarity to a modern satellite. Within the religious and symbolic context of its time, the globe represents the Eucharist and the divine cosmos. The Tale of the Floating Island by Juan de Gildas. In the 17th century, Europe was transitioning from a medieval religious worldview to an era where scientific knowledge was gaining prominence. Juan de Gildas, a monk and chronicler, was admired for both his devotion and his deep understanding of the scriptures. He recounted how, on one occasion, a group of fishermen spotted a floating island near the Irish coast. The island hovered above the water, shifting locations and moving against the direction of the wind. Perplexed by what they saw, the fishermen cautiously approached the island. They claimed it was surrounded by a dense mist, disappearing and reappearing at random intervals. The Miracle of the Sun in Fatima. It occurred on October 13, 1917, in Cova da Iria, near Fatima, Portugal, where thousands of people witnessed what many described as a solar miracle. Eyewitnesses claimed that the sun moved across the sky, cast colorful lights, descended toward the crowd, and then returned to its original position. The Catholic Church classified this event as a divine sign, responding to the Virgin Mary's apparitions in 3 shepherd children from the region. Some researchers have suggested it was a form of collective hallucination driven by the crowd's heightened suggestibility. Another theory links it to atmospheric conditions, such as the interplay of light between the clouds and the sun. From a different angle, it has been interpreted as a potential UFO encounter. It is argued that the erratic movements and luminous effects align with modern descriptions of unidentified flying objects. What purpose do UFOs serve? The phenomenon of unidentified flying objects is real. The declassification of videos has revealed that the world's major governments are aware of their existence. Did these aerial phenomenons occur in ancient times? Are they from the same civilization, or do they represent different races from various planets or galaxies? If today's UFOs belong to the same civilization that intervened in the past, what might they want from us now? Biblical depictions are vague and symbolic, making direct comparisons to modern UFOs challenging. On the other hand, if UFOs appeared in biblical events, their technology has likely evolved or changed over the centuries. Similarly, the technology used in those encounters may have been tailored to the needs of the time, making it different from what we see today. Assuming they truly are an advanced extraterrestrial civilization, let us explore the possible purposes behind their presence. Guidance and supervision of human development. If this civilization was present on Earth during the early stages of human evolution, they may have viewed humanity as a young species in need of guidance for its development. Events such as the delivery of the Ten Commandments or the figure of Jesus as a spiritual teacher could be seen as attempts to establish universal ethical and moral principles. Preservation of cosmic history. If humanity is part of a network of civilizations, an advanced race might work to ensure that our historical trajectory contributes to cosmic stability. It's possible that cosmic laws exist to limit self-destruction or chaos, with these civilizations acting as guardians of such regulations. Experimentation or the creation of a new civilization. Humanity might have been part of some form of genetic, cultural, or social experiment. The introduction of spiritual leaders could have been a deliberate plan to observe how human civilizations evolve under the influence of advanced beings. Protection of humanity. An advanced civilization might be intervening to prevent humanity from self-destruction or to shield it from external threats. This could involve discrete interventions during critical moments in history to avert global catastrophes such as wars or pandemics. Genetic evolution. Some theorists propose that the involvement of advanced civilizations in the emergence of religious figures or dynastic lines had a genetic component. This hypothesis suggests that beings may have made genetic modifications in humans to enhance intelligence, longevity, or specific abilities. Preparation for contact. The intervention of superior beings could be aimed at preparing humanity for a future direct encounter with this advanced civilization. Through historical events, humanity might be gradually guided to understand its place within a cosmic community. Chapter 6. What would the ancient Hebrews think of modern UFOs? The worldview of the ancient Hebrews regarding God, the universe, and their place in history was unique, though it shared elements with other cultures in the ancient Near East. Their perspective was theological, ethical, and interconnected, where human actions and divine intervention were deeply intertwined. Unlike many cultures of the time that embraced polytheism, Hebrew thought was monotheistic, centered on the belief of a single God, Yahweh. Yahweh was seen as the creator of the universe, a personal and close deity who directly interacted with his people. For the Hebrews, obeying God's commandments meant blessings, while disobedience brought punishment. Every event, whether natural, political, or military, was interpreted as part of God's plan. According to the creation account in Genesis 1:27, humans were created in the image and likeness of God. This endowed humanity with inherent dignity and a unique responsibility toward God and creation. During challenging times, such as the Babylonian exile, the Hebrews embraced an apocalyptic vision, believing that God would intervene to restore justice and punish the wicked. On the other hand, the prevailing cosmology in the Bible suggests a flat or disc-shaped earth surrounded by waters, with a dome above containing the sky and celestial bodies. Furthermore, biblical texts contain no references suggesting knowledge of planets orbiting the sun or other stars. For the ancient Hebrews, the visible celestial bodies like stars and the sun were lights created by God and placed in the firmament, with no distinction between stars and planets. Thus, it is unlikely that the Hebrews of biblical times would have believed in extraterrestrial beings as we understand them today. Knowing this, how would the Hebrews of the biblical era respond if they witnessed a UFO like those seen in modern times? They might believe they are witnessing the glory of God or a divine sign, especially if the object was surrounded by radiant lights or exhibited extraordinary phenomena. The term Shekinah refers to the manifest presence of God. The Hebrews believed God physically appeared at critical moments. Upon seeing a UFO, they might think God was descending to deliver a message or intervene in matters of great importance to humanity. They could also interpret a UFO as an angel or celestial messenger sent by God to fulfill a divine mission or deliver a revelation. If the UFO appeared during times of hardship, the Hebrews might associate it with the arrival of the Messiah or divine judgment. Should it emit any sound, they might perceive it as a heavenly voice, a means by which God communicated messages from the skies. Chapter 7. If an advanced civilization intervened in key events of the past, what stops them from doing so today? If these civilizations intervened during critical moments in the past, they might now believe humanity must make its own decisions. It's possible they adhere to ethical principles that prevent them from openly interfering to avoid irreparably altering our civilization. If they remain interested in humanity, they might be intervening in ways that are not easily noticeable. Rather than manifesting through dramatic phenomenon or overt interventions, they could use subtle methods like the psychological influences of advanced technology. Direct interference could bring unintended consequences to modern human society, such as social chaos or a breakdown in trust toward institutions. To prevent this, they might choose to guide humanity's development discreetly without revealing themselves. Could this explain modern UFO sightings, which seem to lack a clear purpose? Are they a way of monitoring us? How can we tell if they are intervening in humanity without us knowing? If they are, we might notice surprising changes, such as unexpected technological leaps or groundbreaking scientific discoveries. However, there are far subtler methods that would be nearly impossible to detect. They could operate in dimensions we cannot directly observe, using technologies far beyond our comprehension. Perhaps this civilization is waiting for the right moment to intervene visibly, believing that humanity is not yet ready for open contact. They might be holding back until humanity reaches a decisive point in its evolution, whether that moment is promising or perilous, before taking action. Chapter 8. If ancient humans misinterpreted events, what are we misunderstanding today? Despite our advances in science and technology, many aspects of our reality remain beyond our comprehension. According to extraterrestrial theory, UFO sightings correspond to spacecraft from an advanced civilization visiting us from another planet. However, we may be misinterpreting these events. Perhaps they are not spacecraft or extraterrestrial beings, but natural phenomena yet to be understood. Rather than alien technology, we could be witnessing phenomena linked to quantum physics, parallel dimensions, or interdimensional life forms. We might also misunderstand the nature of life in the cosmos, which could be interdimensional, immaterial, or based on forms of existence completely unlike our own. On another level, humans often view God as separate from the cosmos, but perhaps this view is mistaken. What if the cosmos itself is God? In this vision, every star, planet, galaxy, and solar system would be part of an immense, immeasurable cosmic being, of which we are only a small fragment. This concept aligns with philosophies like pantheism, which holds that God is the entirety of the universe. Everything that exists is God in manifestation, from the smallest particle to the largest structure. The cosmos itself would be a living entity, possessing a level of consciousness and purpose beyond human perception. Stars and galaxies could be seen as the organs or functional systems of this being. The physical laws governing the universe would be its natural laws. From this perspective, humans and all other forms of life would function like cells within this cosmic organism. Our individual lives, though seemingly insignificant on a cosmic scale, might contribute in some way to the well-being and purpose of the whole. Perhaps our actions, thoughts, and emotions are deeply interconnected with the flow of cosmic energy. Using the human body as an analogy, each cell serves a specific function but lacks conscious awareness of the body's overarching purpose. Similarly, humans may be fulfilling roles within the vast cosmic organism without understanding the universe's ultimate purpose. Just as cells renew themselves within an organism, humans are born and die, allowing that supreme being, imperceptible to us, to exist and thrive. Chapter 9. Is intelligent extraterrestrial life compatible with Christianity? In Christianity, God is regarded as the creator of the entire universe, having made all things visible and invisible. From this perspective, the existence of life elsewhere in the universe is conceivable, as God's creation is not limited to Earth or humanity. If the universe is infinite, it is plausible that God has also created other forms of life on different planets or in other solar systems. Although the Bible does not explicitly mention extraterrestrial life, certain passages can be interpreted broadly. For example, Colossians 1:16 states, "For by him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible," suggesting an immense creation. A central tenet of Christian theology is that Christ is the cornerstone of redemption for humanity. Jesus, as the incarnate Son of God, came to earth to save humankind through his life, death, and resurrection. This raises an intriguing question. How would the existence of intelligent beings on other planets impact this doctrine of salvation? It's possible that Christ, in his singular incarnation on earth, holds a universal role in the salvation of all intelligent creatures across the cosmos. An alternative possibility is that there are multiple incarnations of Christ on other worlds, tailored to the unique needs and realities of those civilizations. If extraterrestrial beings exist, some theologians suggest that these beings may not have experienced a fall similar to humanity's and therefore might not require salvation. This presents a scenario where some intelligent beings live in perfect harmony with God, while others, like humans, have undergone a fall. The Vatican Observatory, led by Catholic astronomers and scientists, have been open to exploring the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Some representatives have stated that we should not limit God's freedom to create life wherever he chooses, and that just as there is diversity of creatures on Earth, there could be a similar variety throughout the universe. Chapter 10. A Christianity Beyond Earth. There is no evidence that the strange phenomena described in the Bible belong to an advanced civilization. Modern UFOs could be spacecraft from other worlds, but they might also be interdimensional beings, time travelers, human technology, or even living entities from our planet. If we speculate that some biblical events involved in technological objects from a cosmic civilization would mean Christian believers would lose their faith, not necessarily. This perspective could offer a new way of understanding the divine, where God operates through multiple civilizations across the universe. For some believers, this reinterpretation would deepen their faith, allowing them to see God as the creator not only of Earth, but of countless other civilizations. If advanced beings were responsible for certain biblical manifestations, they could be viewed as cosmic siblings, equally part of God's creation. Christians might expand their concept of neighbor to include these beings, following the gospel's call to love and fraternity. This cosmic Christianity could also inspire a renewed intellectual curiosity and a desire to explore our galaxy, the cosmos, and its mysteries. By envisioning God as the creator of a universe teeming with life, Christians might feel a profound urge to venture into the unknown. Each discovery would be considered, in a sense, a revelation of the incomprehensible scope of divine creation. Moreover, this openness to the cosmos would inspire great collaboration between science and faith, allowing scientific knowledge and spirituality to complement each other. Perhaps in the distant future, our descendants will travel beyond the solar system and encounter intelligent extraterrestrial life. If these civilizations shared values similar to those of Jesus Christ, we might begin to see them as universal principles inherent to all advanced societies. They would be a kind of divine imprint, manifesting in any corner of the cosmos. If love, compassion, forgiveness, and altruism have taken shape as religion in cosmic civilizations, it's fascinating to imagine the resulting practices. With telepathic abilities, beings from such civilizations might practice compassion and love through rituals of empathetic communion. This could involve gatherings where individuals attune emotionally, learning forgiveness and love by experiencing life from one another's perspective. For beings deeply connected to their natural environment, their religious practice might include direct communion with nature. Instead of words, they would interact symbiotically with their surroundings, understanding love and compassion as principles that extend to all forms of life. They would perform ceremonies where they offer energy to their ecosystems as an act of respect and a reflection of the divine love they perceive throughout creation. If these beings interact with other civilizations, they might hold rituals of forgiveness and reconciliation with other species. In their cosmic encounters, they would practice welcoming ceremonies, cultural exchanges, and reconciliation rituals to promote interplanetary peace. This alien religion would likely use symbols of cosmic unity to remind its members of their connection to one another and all of creation. In a collaborative artistic act, these civilizations might create a massive cosmic mandala using asteroids or stardust. If we imagine civilizations capable of harnessing the energy of an entire galaxy, they could undertake immense religious works on a cosmic scale. With mastery over energy and advanced technology, they could build spiritual structures visible across the galaxy. Their ability to manipulate gas and stardust would allow them to form sacred nebulas. These would be immense galactic structures, symbolizing unity among diverse intelligent species. Using the power to redirect energy flows, they might create rivers of light that stretch across galaxies. Beyond being a visual spectacle, these creations would form symbolic pathways to sacred sites or regions for interstellar meditation. By manipulating the life cycle of stars, such civilizations could craft cathedrals of supernovas. These would serve as monuments to life and death, formed from controlled stellar explosions, events of breathtaking beauty. These cosmic ceremonies, occurring only once every millions of years, would celebrate life and death as integral parts of the divine cycle. Harnessing the energy of black holes or white dwarfs, they might create soul nexuses, places where the spiritual energy of multiple civilizations converges. These would be centers of immense spiritual and gravitational energy, where beings of all species gather to meditate and connect. Perhaps unknowingly, we are already witnessing some of these signs left by other civilizations in the cosmos. Maybe they have long since vanished, leaving behind an eternal symbol, a footprint of love on the vast cosmic canvas for their stellar brethren. Or perhaps they watch us from afar, waiting patiently for humanity to reach maturity as a species before establishing contact. If those we call angels or gods were our guardians, what were they hoping for from us? Could humanity be the greatest experiment of these entities, or perhaps their most cherished legacy? Maybe we are just one chapter in a cosmic story spanning billions of years, something so vast that the human mind struggles to grasp its enormity.